Welcome back. You're still watching the news at 10. Coming to you now from Abuja, the Federal Executive Council has approved 27.4 billion naira for victims of flood and insecurity across state. This is what the Vice Chairman of the National Food Security Council and Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, told a news conference after a 7-hour meeting behind closed doors presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. Our correspondent Gloria Umezioki reports.
This is the second Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by the President, Muhammadu Buhari, after the conduct of the 2019 general elections, and it lasted for 7 hours behind closed doors.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
At a briefing after the meeting, Vice Chairman of the National Food Security Council and Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, disclosed that Council has approved a total sum of 27.4 billion naira for victims of insecurity and flood across states.
The National Food Security Council considered the importance of helping them restore activity, particularly agricultural activity. So the Council approved the submission by Mr. President graciously to intervene and approved 8,528,755 naira for intervention in Adamawa State, Benue, Borno, Plateau, Taraba, Yobe, and Zamfara State, and the beneficiaries are estimated at about 69,872 people.
For states severely affected by flooding, the Council approved over 18.9 billion naira intervention for 14 states.
Contracts to be awarded to 15 companies to provide seedlings, agrochemicals, and fertilizer to 163,117 beneficiaries.
The federal government also looks to fulfill its promises regarding the Ogoni cleanup exercise launched in June 2016.
We've made appreciable progress. Today, we have now awarded 5 more, and we are glad to say that we have secured approval and the contractors will be handed over to the sites as soon as it is practicably possible.
The Safe School initiative, launched in 2014 at the World Economic Forum in Abuja, equally received a boost at the council meeting.
Nigeria now has signed the Safe School Declaration. We have been a member, and there have been a number of activities on that platform, but now formally it means we are committed to implementing what is in the Safe School guidelines.
In continuation of efforts to complete projects on ground, the federal government also approves the augmentation of water supply project in Enugu State, revising the cost to 1.121 billion naira. From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
And in a bid to reduce human trafficking in Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki says his administration is focused on education system reforms and other development projects. Governor Obaseki offered this assurance when he received the Director General of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, in Benin, the state capital. Our correspondent Jessica Olobosere reports.
Exploitation for commercial gain are key words propelling human trafficking globally, with millions estimated to be victims of this crime against the person. It's also a challenge for governments, prompting the setting up of agencies at international and domestic levels. In Nigeria, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has been mandated since 2003 to deal with this menace. Here in Edo State, South Nigeria, the government says that its strong desire to turn the story of the state from being a source and transit point for human trafficking led to the establishment of the task force against human trafficking.
My governor was particularly uncomfortable, but his sort of discomfort is the positive type. Soon after we were sworn in as commissioners, he announced, I think like days later, he announced that there would be a task force, and we started working on the task force and its composition.
The need for collaboration to strengthen both parties' capacity in dealing with the perpetrators and their illicit trade is highlighted.
It's a service, not just relation with the entire human race.
NAPTIP is open in its idea sharing, listing worrisome methods the human traffickers employ in their business.
The traffickers are not waiting for us. They are always on the move and they are very, very fast. So we must be ahead of them at all times. Then you also have to look at orphanages. There's a lot of orphanage trafficking going on, but a lot of people don't know. Some of them actually kidnap children from the local communities on the streets and put them there.
Through with this session, the NAPTIP team proceeds to another meeting, this time with the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki. He believes denial and indifference do not help in the fight against the illegal and degrading trade. Mr. Obaseki maintains that the government's education reform scheme would play huge roles in changing the story.
This challenge has to be seen from a very holistic perspective. It's not just about, dealing with it as a crime. No. It's not going to solve it. We've got to go back to the root causes. We've got to see how to support the weakest in our communities, ensure that we begin to reorientate the young ones, give them good education, try and make them feel at home, feel them home, like that they're at home in their homes.
All parties in the day's meetings also believe that improved action and better results are some of the benefits that this collaboration would bring, starting now. Jessica Oluguse, Channels Television News.
Well, that's all from Abuja. It's back to you now, Ijoma.
Thanks a lot, Markwe. Let's move on to health matters. And dentists believe that children should learn good oral habits early for a healthy mouth up till old age. Now, this is why children are the focus of Unilever Nigeria PLC's celebration of World Oral Health Day every year in Lagos. 2019 is no different for the makers of Pepsodent toothpaste.
There's no dampening the spirits of these irrepressible children, hundreds of whom are here to celebrate the World Oral Health Day with Unilever Nigeria PLC's Pepsodent and the Nigerian Dental Association. As they dance and have fun, they are reminded to maintain good oral habits for healthy teeth.
Poor oral health can negatively affect a child's confidence, social skills, as well as the potential for success later in life.
As the state is beginning registration of the formal sector, provision is currently being made towards the inclusion of dental services as part of the overall package. Hence, we look forward to the time when there will be seamless health coverage for all.
According to Unilever, it was discovered that its Brush Day and Night campaign caused an improvement in children's brushing technique by 76%.
Right now, we've reached 5 million children, so our plan is to reach 10 million by 2020. And for this year alone, we have over 1 million children earmarked that we're going to reach all across Nigeria. We're also looking at situations where the government, through its policies, like the NHIS scheme and the health insurance schemes that most state governments are trying to bring up, will look at having oral health care as part of the primary health care program.
Yo, President gave you the hygiene, everything got into the beat round.
Experts say good oral health could prevent tooth and mouth diseases as well as systemic diseases.
Let's take a look at some business news now. Here's Kayode Okikiolu.
You First. First Bank.
Thank you, Ijeoma, and you're welcome to Business News. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says that the 2.3 million barrel per day production volume target for the 2019 budget is achievable. The Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Dr. Mekati Baru, explains that with improved security in oil-bearing communities as a result of sustainable partnerships, the oil industry can attain the production target. Mr. Baru adds that though Nigeria has a capacity to produce 2.5 million barrels per day, security challenges had resulted in a shortfall in the country's output. However, the NNPC expects that with the condensate production currently between 400 to 600,000 barrels per day, the overall production benchmark will be reached. And following the revision of transfer pricing regulations in Nigeria, national or multinational companies now have penalties to grapple with. In order to mitigate the negative impacts of the sanctions on inflows and tax liabilities, experts are advocating compliance with international firms as Nigeria expands its zero tolerance for tax evasion.
Most companies, will make investment in the most, hostile environment, so long as they understand, what the risks, are going to be, and they've already factored that into their financial models, in terms of going forward. If they do that, there are no surprises. The thing that kills you, is when you have a surprise. Look, like on Wall Street, for instance, hey, there are no problems. All you have to do basically is that give me an annual guidance. And it also applies, in the Nigerian stock market. Give me an earning guidance, and God help you if you feel that, earning guidance.
If you don't do this and you get audited, all right, there can be an assessment of additional tax liabilities. So you need to do it, all right? But some were of the view that would rather sit on the fence and wait for them to come before we do it, because there was no explicit penalty for not doing it on time. You understand me? And so a sizable number of companies did comply, but not all of them. Once they came up with a revised TP regulation that had specific administrative TP penalties, and most of them you're going to pay a minimum of, let's say, 10 million naira.
Well, let's head over to the stock market, where sell-offs dominated trading activities at the local bourse today. Layo Adegoke has the details.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report. The Nigerian Stock Exchange today announced a full trading suspension on the shares of Diamond Bank PLC as the lender secures all legal approvals to conclude business combination with Access Bank. The news, however, failed to lift the already flagging equities as softened 0.13% and the market value trimmed to 11.57 trillion naira. But while the turnover volume, naira value and deals remain in line with daily averages, 4 of the 5 main equities indices slumped. Consumer goods was down nearly 1%, oil and gas lost 0.62%, insurance sluggish by 0.5%, and industrial goods down almost the same margin. Banking index, however, managed nearly 1% gain. Riding the merger news, Access Bank led Wednesday in terms of trade, followed by Zenith Bank and Fidelity. Access Bank also topped the advances table by more than 9%, followed by 2 industrial stocks, while Nestle, Better Glass and Cadbury led the laggards on the ticker tape. And that's it on the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke. It's back to you, Kayode.
Thank you, Layo. The Federal Reserve's no-rate hikes announcement spooks the Dow Jones and S&P 500 as Brexit pushes European markets lower. We also bring you details on how Asia and Africa fared in the markets today. And that's Business News for tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Okikelu. It's now back to you, Ijeoma.
You first. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Kayode. Still ahead on the news at 10. We'll check in with our London bureau for Around the World in 5. Please stay with us.